Texans tonight on TNF. Welcome to Good Morning Football. We're presented by Intuit QuickBooks Live in New York City on this Thursday, November 21st. How is it, Paul?
It's already here.
Already here. A big game. Both squads 6-4. The Colts are on top, but Deshaun Watson needs to carry this team atop the AFC South deep into the playoffs if they want to change their narrative. It can all happen tonight on Thursday Night Football. This is GMFB, and this is your lead block.
Lead block, please.
Let's welcome in James Palmer. He's live with us in Houston. James, this is so many injuries going on. What is the latest report for tonight's matchup? I know Marlon Mack's ruled out, but I'm still saying questionable as far as T.Y. Hilton's concerned and Eric Ebron.
Let's start with T.Y. Hilton, because Texans defense coordinator Romeo Crennel pretty much laughed in my face when I asked, is T.Y. Hilton going to play in this game? Now, he told me the Texans have been preparing for T.Y. all week and then added, he's going to play. There's no way he doesn't play. And I don't see how T.Y. Hilton would not play in this game. Playing games here in Houston, he's averaging 133 yards per game. That's more than any player in an opponent's building in the Super Bowl era. Last year, he told me this is his second home, NRG Stadium. Now, Frank Reich, when I talked to him this week, told me that T.Y. does not have to practice this week to play in this game. He said he's been around long enough. He's smart enough. Obviously, it's not optimal, but he can play in this game if he doesn't practice. Now, T.Y. has been optimistic also about playing in this one. Now, on the Texans side of things, big question marks with cornerback Bradley Roby, who they would love to have back, and wide receiver Will Fuller. Now, as Nate was saying, this is a completely different offense when Will Fuller's on the field. Both of them been out extended period of time with hamstring injuries. The hard part with a Thursday game is there's not really practices to go out and test those hamstrings. So my understanding is the Texans went out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and found other ways to see if those guys could be ready for today, but they want to see both of them on the field pre-game to see if they can go. They'd be a huge addition for the Texans on both sides of the ball.
Awesome. James, we know the Colts are going to be without running back Marlon Mack after undergoing hand surgery. What can we expect to see from the Colts running game tonight? I know we got to meet a new player for the Colts that really put on a show last week.
Yeah, they don't think they're going to slow down at all, Peter. They really don't. 264 yards on the ground last week. They're fourth in the NFL in rushing. I talked to Naheem Hines, and he said the way our offensive line was blocking against the Jaguars, we as running backs were talking on the sideline, and we were all like begging to go in for carries because we thought whoever goes in is going to go off. And it was Jonathan Williams, the guy who had 1 yard over the last 2 years leading into that game, and then he goes for 116 yards. Well, it wasn't a surprise to Frank Reich. He told me that while Williams has been on their scout team over the last year and a half, he said it was a weekly conversation between him and Chris Ballard just going, did you see that run? Did you see what he just did to our first team defense? We might have to find a way to get this guy on the field. Now, Marlon Mack's a really good back, so that made things difficult, but he got his opportunity with Mack going down, and you saw him seize it. This group doesn't think at all, Peter, they're going to be slowing down behind that dominant offensive line. Anybody who gets the football, they think they're going to be able to run it successfully.
Especially with Big Q Nasty out there. And Jonathan Williams had one carry going into last week, rattles off over 100 yards. Both teams are in the top half of the league, top 10 in rushing this season. So Carlos Hyde versus Jonathan Williams, Jordan Wilkins, and whoever's toting that rock. It should be a bit of a slugfest on the ground tonight in Houston. Thank you so much, Palmer. We'll have you back for some injury updates as we look at the playoff picture now for the AFC. Schrags, quickly looking at you. I mean, the Colts are sitting pretty.
Colts sitting pretty unless they lose tonight, and then the Texans are sitting pretty.
Sole possession.
You know, they obviously the Colts beat them in Week 7, but a win in this one would give the Texans a 7-4 record, and the Colts would be 6-5, and suddenly we'd have a new leader in the division.
For now, the Colts have the 3 seed. They've got the Titans, another big divisional matchup in Week 13. This is a must-win situation, really, for both squads, and including last season's wild card game, the Colts have beaten the Texans in 3 straight. So, Kyle, what do the Texans have to do to stop that streak tonight?
Pray that T.Y. doesn't play. This thing is so good, and it's so much better even than we think. No star receiver has dominated a division rival like T.Y. has the Texans. Not Julio on the Saints, not Antonio Brown, who used to do to Cleveland. And it's not just what T.Y. has done to the Texans. It's what he's done at the Texans. James mentioned a little bit. I know there's probably a lot of NFL players who have a second home. You got a place in the desert. You got a place in Florida. T.Y. has one in Houston, and last year he talked about it.
This is the 4th time in 7 trips you've had more than 100 yards receiving against the Texans. What is it about playing Houston that you've just seemed to have had so much success?
Like everybody say, this is my second home, so...
All right, so NRG Stadium is his second home.
Wow.
You might imagine that was run back to some of the Texans. And Jonathan Joseph from the Houston Texans secondary responded to it, hearing that the receiver calls his stadium his second home by saying, "Nah, man, that's for clowns. That's for TV. That's what they do. You put something in their face, anybody can say it."
Well,
we got second home smack, we got clown smack. How did T.Y. Hilton then, when they played the Texans one more time in the playoffs, how did he show up to his second home, NRG Stadium? Let's take a look at this.
Oh, yeah!
He went out on the road, my friend.
This isn't Halloween.
No. This is January. This is the first week of January. He said he had the Texans training staff go to a party city in Houston, the Colts rather, and find a local Party City store to get him a mask. Wears the mask to the playoff game, and then they beat him again. So if there was ever a time for someone on Houston's defense to stop him, incidentally, the only week 1 starter in the Houston secondary who's going to play tonight, Jonathan Joseph, is the guy out there who called him a clown, got the clown mask. If not now, guys, whenever. He's partying in your city at Party City. Do something about this guy. And it looks like he's going to play. James says he's going. Let's go.
That's my take as well on this one. If not now, when? Like, Bill O'Brien called his team the almost team this offseason, saying, we always play well, but we never get that big. This is the week to beat the Colts. If you look at the Colts' injuries, they are not the same team they were in week 7. They weren't the same team they were a couple weeks ago. No Marlon Mack, no Paris Campbell, no Kari Willis. Questionable. T.Y.'s not going to be 100%. Eric Ebron's got an ankle issue. You said it, K-Rock. Sin has issues. Like, this is not Andrew Luck. This is a hobble. It's in your building. If ever there was a time
you gotta win.
to stop this narrative, it is tonight. Go win the game. And if you're the Texans, it's one of those look in the mirror games. Like, what are we? We win. We're in first place. Like, what are we? Are we really the team that lost 41-7 against a Baltimore team where everyone said we were on the same plane as going in? Or are we a team that can rise to the occasion? I think it's a real gut check game for the Texans, and I'm curious to see which version we get.
It's funny, man. I'm sitting here listening to that drama between T.Y., Jonathan Joseph, and that team, and you're mentioning how the Texans, they just got to go out there and stop the narrative. How about the defense just stop somebody?
Okay.
Because as you guys are talking, I wanted to go into this whole thing about Will Fuller and what he means to the offense and what he means to DeAndre Hopkins and how he can take the top off any coverage. But that's just part of the course. We know with that type of speed, he can open up a game. But now that I'm thinking about this conversation we're having, and I'm looking at the games that Deshaun Watson has played in, how many times have we watched the Texans team and just thought, man, Deshaun Watson's really going to have to win this game for his team? How much pressure for a young quarterback does he have to put on the shoulders game in and game out?
Hero ball.
When is there a game? Hero ball, exactly. When is there a game where the defense says, yo, we got you. All you need to do is not turn the ball over and put up 14 points, Deshaun. Not go out there and be the best quarterback. Be Michael Jordan like they said you were. Yeah, I know last week they were playing up against Lamar Jackson, who is maybe the front runner of the MVP. But why not stop Lamar Jackson? Okay, that ship has sailed. Why not in this game with all those guys hurt, the defense comes out and plays so unbelievable that Deshaun Watson doesn't have to be a superhero? That's what I want out of this defense. Forget about what I was going to say about Will Fuller. I'm on it with you guys. Defense, go out there and shut somebody down. How about you put up a goose egg?
Shut down the run. They lose J.J. Watt. They're now allowing 6.6 yards per carry since that happened. They were top 5 against the run when they had J.J. Watt in there. They're like bottom of the barrel now, bottom 5 in stopping the bleeding. So Marlon Mack might not be out there, but there's a reason that they're not concerned giving the ball to whoever they have to get it going on the ground.
And you also have the fact that they traded Jadeveon Clowney, and he's going on a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Seattle.
Plays.
And you start scratching your head and say, well, what was a direction? Because we went all in with Tunzel, and that's great, but then we traded away Clowney for a 1-year deal.
The defense is depleted right now.
And the defense is getting ripped apart. Last week was a really bad moment for the Texans. I'm really curious to see what version we get to.
Can Deshaun Watson carry this team into the playoffs?
Yeah, he's done it before. But at some point, that pressure starts to collapse on top of you. And before you know it, either his body's going to be worn down, mentally he's going to be fatigued.
Was that rock bottom last week? Is that the thing where, oh, man, we just got their doors blown off, we don't have it? Or is it that week was terrible and we're going to go on a run now? Because, the Colts don't mess around. That offensive line and Q Nasty and all those guys, they headbutt you in the street fight. They're dirty like that. So they better have it tonight or this season's going to start fading away.
Sounds like we have more questions than answers on this Thursday night.
What's unfortunate about last week is we all know how bad it can get for the Texans. No matter how good we have seen Deshaun Watson, if you're a defense or your offense going up against the Texans moving forward, and if they make the playoffs, go back and look at the Baltimore game. They made it look so easy in a game where Lamar Jackson really didn't even show off his legs. He just beat him with his arms.
A lot of questions. We'll find out the answers tonight because it's all
we
going
will.
down,
Let's
KB.
go.
It really is. Colts and